Noah Granger stood in the center of the gym like something ancient had just cracked open inside him. 1 second, the whole school was echoing with the chaotic rhythm of sneakers and laughter, and the next, dead quiet. Not the kind of quiet where people hold their breath, the kind where something walks into the room and takes the air with it. That moment, the slap came, sharp, echoing off the bleachers like a gunshot. The sheriff's hand still hovered in the air, trembling just slightly. While Noah didn't flinch, didn't move. His left eye swelled slowly beneath the fluorescent lights, and all he said was, "They're already here." You ever have a moment where time feels wrong? Not slow, not fast, just wrong. Like it slipped behind your skin and rearranged something. You'll never get back. That was what it felt like when Noah said those 3 words. Nobody asked what he meant. Nobody even moved. But I saw it. I swear to God I saw it. His mouth never moved, his lips stayed sealed, and yet I heard it clear, right in my ear. "They're already here." As if he whispered it straight into my brain. They tried to delete the footage. I know because I saw it twice. The raw gym feed was on the school servers for less than 5 minutes before the Pentagon arrived. Yeah. The actual Pentagon. Not the local cops. Not the feds. These weren't people who show up because a black teenager got hit. These were people in suits, not a wrinkle on them, who didn't introduce themselves. They didn't even ask questions. They just walked in like they knew exactly what had been said, exactly what had been triggered, and exactly who needed to disappear, because Noah's gone. Not suspended, not expelled. Gone. No hospital check-in, no record, no backpack left behind. Just gone. His locker emptied overnight. His parents stopped answering their door, and no one talks about it, like he never existed. There's something no one dares ask in this town, maybe anywhere. It's the kind of question that itches at the back of your skull, right behind the part of your mind that knows how dreams rot into nightmares. What if this isn't the first time someone vanished like that? What if we've all seen someone fade and our brains just rewrote it? Swallowed the memory? Who gave them that power? What did Noah know? Last night I got a message, not a call, not a text, an audio file. No sender, just a voice, crackling like it was dragged through static and time. I swear it was Noah. He was whispering again. He said my name. Then he said one more thing before the file cut out. They lied about the girl in the basement. The last words in that audio file. They lied about the girl in the basement. Hung in the silence long after the recording stopped. I played it again, slower this time, straining to catch any nuance that might anchor me back to something solid, something real. But it wasn't like I'd just uncovered a secret. It was like the secret had found me, grabbed me by the collar and pulled me deep into a place where nothing stayed the same for long. You think you're hearing the truth, but all you're really hearing is your own pulse pounding in your ears, and the faint crackle of static that never quite fades away. That audio clip is the kind of thing you want to erase from memory, but somehow you can't. It's hard to say when the doubt started. Maybe it began with the way the sheriff looked just before he slapped Noah, the flicker in his eyes like he was seeing something else, somewhere else. Or maybe it was after the Pentagon men walked into the gym, moving like shadows without shadows, ignoring every human rule you thought was ironclad. After that, everything began to wobble. The colors in the world seemed dimmer, sounds sharper. I caught myself staring at the blank corner of my bedroom wall for minutes, as if it might whisper a secret if I just listened hard enough. The thing is, no one else remembers the Pentagon coming. Not in the same way I do. I asked friends, teachers, even the janitor who cleans the gym at midnight. Their eyes glaze over when I say the word Pentagon. They blink, like I'm confusing them with a story from a dream I had. It's like the entire town agreed to forget that night, or maybe they never really saw it at all. Then there's the footage. The videos I thought I had. The files on my phone started glitching. Every time I tried to open the raw gym video, the screen splinters like ice, then goes black. Sometimes when the screen flickers back, there's a whisper layered beneath the static. a voice so low it almost slips under the threshold of hearing. I strain to catch words, but they melt away, like water slipping through fingers. I'm not sure if I'm losing it, or if something else is erasing pieces of reality like a thief in the dark. My own memories twist and fray. I'll remember talking to Noah after school, but then wake up the next day convinced we never spoke. Sometimes, I swear I see him out of the corner of my eye, standing in places he couldn't possibly be. Then, he's gone, like a ghost. But ghosts don't send audio files, do they? Enter Lila. She's the only person I trust. Or maybe I want to trust. She showed up about a week after Noah vanished, sudden and sharp, with eyes that flickered like they carried their own storm. Lila's the kind of girl who doesn't believe in coincidences. The truth is always buried under the stories they tell you, she said, voice low, leaning close so I could smell the cigarette smoke on her breath. You want to know what they don't want you to remember? You have to be ready to lose yourself. But Lila's words always felt like a trap. Half of the time, she contradicts herself. She talks about secret government experiments and spectral signals in the Wi-Fi that manipulate memories. Then she'll laugh it off, telling me I'm slipping. I can't tell if she's trying to help me or pull me deeper into some kind of madness. Still, I keep going back to her because she's the only one who looks at me like she believes the chaos in my head might be real. Last night, she pulled something from her pocket. A recording. A tape. Outdated, grainy, like a relic from a time before even Noah was born. I pressed play and the room filled with a woman's voice, low and trembling, speaking a name I'd never heard before. It wasn't Noah's name. It wasn't any name I recognized. The voice spoke of a basement, shadows that don't belong to this world, and the girl who was never supposed to be found. The tape ended with a chilling whisper. Don't trust what you see, trust what you don't. Lila looked at me then, eyes dark and fierce. This isn't just about Noah. It never was. It's about everything they erased from our lives. The real unsolved mystery hiding behind every locked door in this town. The problem is, when I go home, everything I thought I understood starts to crumble. My phone shows missed calls from numbers that don't exist. Pictures in my gallery rearrange themselves overnight. I'm haunted by nightmares where I'm both the hunter and the hunted, running through a house that shifts like a maze. Hallways turning into walls, doors vanishing into shadows. And the worst part? Sometimes, when the static fills my room late at night, I swear I hear Noah calling my name. Or is it just me, pulling strings of memory that aren't mine? Lila keeps pushing, digging into places the town erased. The truth behind what no one tells you, the lies they bury so deep you almost forget to ask. But with every step, I feel something watching, waiting. Something that doesn't want the truth spoken aloud. So here I am, stuck between what I saw and what I'm told didn't happen. Between the panic clawing in my chest and the cold certainty that something real is slipping through the cracks of my mind. And now with that last whisper about the girl in the basement, everything I believed shatters. Because what if Noah's disappearance isn't just about a boy slapped in a gym? What if it's about the part of us all that's been quietly erased? The memories, the people, the truth behind what no one dares to remember? And as I sit here, headphones buzzing with static, waiting for the next whisper to come through, I realize one terrifying fact. Some questions were never meant to be asked, and some truths are worse than silence. Because now I hear the basement door creaking open downstairs. But I live alone. The morning light spilled unevenly through my blinds, casting half the room into cold shadow, half into a brittle clarity that felt almost like a lie. I had spent the night with Lila, piecing together the fragments that felt like shards of a shattered mirror, each one reflecting a sliver of truth. Finally, it seemed like something real was coming into focus. A hidden truth that had been buried beneath layers of denial and erasure. The raw files from the gym that had vanished from every official server weren't gone. They were locked away, encrypted on an old flash drive Lila swore she found hidden in the basement of the school's old administration building, behind a loose panel that no one had ever bothered to check. It was an archive, a time capsule of moments nobody wanted remembered, and it was about to change everything. Or so I thought. We sat side by side in my room, the glow from the laptop screen cutting through the shadows. The video opened like a door to a past that felt both distant and suffocatingly close. No glitches, no static, just the raw, unfiltered chaos of that gym. The sheriff's hand came down, the slap echoed, but this time I watched every nuance, every flicker in Noah's face. And then, something new, a figure barely visible behind the sheriff, a shadow that moved against the light, an impossible shape that didn't belong in any frame. Lila pointed, voice low. "See that? It's watching." The hairs on my neck stood on end, and for the first time since this all began, I felt the weight of something watching us back, something old and patient. The flash drive held more than videos. It had files, journal entries, cryptic audio notes recorded in whispers, dated decades before Noah was even born. I read one entry over and over, a trembling script from a man named Joseph Weaver, who worked as a janitor in this very school during the late 70s. He wrote of a girl, no name, just the girl in the basement, who disappeared after screaming about voices that came from the walls, about shadows that stretched too long and never blinked. His last note was a warning, scribbled in shaky handwriting. "They watch from everywhere, the walls remember. Don't listen to the silence." The parallels were chilling, a mirror held up between two times. Noah, the girl in the basement, the sheriff's slap, they were all threads woven into the same dark tapestry. For a moment, I felt like I had cracked the code. I was the first to hold this truth in my hands, the first to glimpse the pattern they had hidden. Memory glitches, erased footage, a girl who vanished into the cold depths of the school's forgotten spaces. The evidence was tangible, concrete, undeniable. But as I stared at the screen, a flicker in the corner of the video pulled my attention away. The figure behind the sheriff shifted, too fast, too fluid, and then it blinked. Or rather, it didn't. There was no eye movement, no breath, no human signal at all. Just a dark silhouette absorbing the light like a black hole. I blinked. The room wavered, and suddenly the laptop screen was showing something else. A home video from the 90s, grainy and faded, of a little girl playing in a backyard. I recognized the house. It was the one I grew up in, but the girl wasn't me. Or was she? Her hair, her smile, the way she looked at the camera with that strange, knowing expression. It felt like looking into a fractured mirror of my own childhood. The video played on, and then the frame froze on the girl's face, her eyes wide and unblinking. That smile turned into a grimace and the screen flickered to black. Then a whisper slipped through the speakers, slow and deliberate. "You're not crazy. They lied to you." The voice was too familiar, too close to home. It wasn't Noah's, not Lila's. It was mine, or something that sounded like mine, fractured and distorted. The room felt smaller, as if the walls were inching in, pressing secrets into the shadows behind my eyelids. A memory surfaced, forgotten, buried deep, AID, basement door creaking open, my own voice calling out but no one answering. The darkness waiting, the silence screaming. The flash drive ejected itself from the laptop, falling to the floor with a dull thud. I reached down, hands trembling, and noticed something etched faintly into its plastic casing, a symbol I had seen before, carved into the old gym's wooden bleachers, so faint that everyone had ignored it. A circle broken in half, like a split eye watching from the edges of perception. A detail so small, so easily missed, that it unraveled everything I thought I knew. Because if this symbol was there before Noah's disappearance, before the girl in the basement, before the sheriff's slap, then what we were chasing wasn't a story about a single moment or person. It was a pulse beneath the town's skin, a shadow folded into every memory and every lie. Something ancient, waiting not just in basements or shadows, but inside the way our minds twist and fracture to protect us from what's really there. Lila looked at me, eyes wide and unsteady. "This isn't just about them," she said quietly. "It's about us, about what they've been hiding from the beginning. You thought you were uncovering a mystery, but you've just been watching the story rewrite itself around you, and that's when the lights flickered. Once, twice, and the basement door creaked open again, deeper and slower this time, like something waiting to be invited in. My heart seized, and the room felt impossibly cold, a void pressing just beyond sight. I realized then, with a gut punch of dread that twisted my insides, that everything, the audio glitches, the missing memories, the whispered warnings, wasn't a puzzle to solve. It was a trap, a living thing that fed on doubt, on fear, on the cracks in our reality. Because the truth wasn't something you found, it was something that found you. And in that moment, as I stared into the shadow where the basement door stood ajar, I understood the most terrible part of all. I had been watching this story from the wrong angle the whole time. The mystery wasn't about what had happened. It was about what was still happening, and what was watching me back. If you thought you knew the story so far, you're going to have to watch it all again. Because nothing is what it seemed. Not the sheriff, not Noah, not the girl in the basement, not even me. The hidden truth isn't just buried in the past. It's rewriting the present right in front of your eyes. And somewhere, just beyond the flickering light, the silence waits to speak. The basement door had barely settled back into silence before the weight of something far larger pressed down, subtle but relentless, like the slow descent of twilight swallowing the last flickers of daylight. I wasn't alone in this fractured story. Somewhere beyond the cracked windows of this town, others were awake, caught in the same half-glimpsed nightmare I could barely articulate, a collective heartbeat pulsing beneath the surface, tied together by things no one dared speak aloud. I started receiving messages, not texts, not emails, something older and more coded, like a whisper sliding through cracks in the internet, a digital ghost leaving clues for those who still remembered how to listen. At first, it was a string of numbers and letters, seemingly random but somehow familiar, like a cipher half-remembered from a class I never took. Each message arrived at odd hours, sometimes embedded in the static of late-night broadcasts, sometimes in the background of videos I never clicked on intentionally. Symbols started to appear, circles broken in half, lines that seemed to pulse and breathe if you stared too long. Graffiti etched on walls I'd never walked past, flickers, in shadows on old grainy footage that no one but me seemed to notice. The same symbol from the bleachers, from the flash drive, from the cracks in my mind. I wasn't the only one seeing it, and they were watching me see it. The dreams came next, shared nightmares that weren't mine alone. I woke in cold sweats, heart hammering, visions overlapping from voices that weren't mine but spoke my name. I wasn't sure if it was memory or premonition, but the details felt so vivid I started writing them down, hoping to map the maze. One night, Lila showed up at my door, eyes wide, clutching a notebook filled with sketches that matched my dreams. Exactly. You were right all along, she said, voice trembling as if admitting a secret she'd kept for years. This isn't just about Noah or the girl in the basement. It's what they never wanted us to remember. The found footage from 20 years ago wasn't just history. It's a warning. And it's still happening. Then came the videos, grainy, shot from angles that defied logic. Cameras hidden behind mirrors, inside walls, glimpses of people moving where they shouldn't be, faces blurred, eyes hollow. But somehow they felt familiar. People I thought I knew or maybe never knew at all. They watched silently, standing at the edges of rooms just beyond the reach of memory, their presence seeping into every crack and corner. The government never released these, or if they did, they buried them so deep no one could find them without knowing exactly where to look. I found one, hidden in an old archive online labeled simply Project Silence. It was footage of a child standing alone in a dark basement, whispering a name that wasn't Noah's, a name I'd never heard but suddenly felt lodged deep, inside me like a splinter beneath my skin. And then there was the observer, not a person, not a ghost, but a perspective, framed in shaky camera angles, broken sentences, a voice that trembled between certainty and fear. This observer spoke of timelines folding, of memories overwritten, and identities unraveling like threads pulled too tight. Their footage was raw, fragmented, but brutally honest. "They don't just watch," the voice said. "They rewrite. Your memories are not yours. Your thoughts are not private. And every truth you think you hold is layered with lies crafted to keep you compliant." It was the only clear thing I had heard in weeks. The line between who I am and who I thought began to blur. Faces in photos flickered, names changed in records I once trusted, and moments I swore I lived slipped away into impossible gaps. Was I becoming one of them? Or were they becoming me? The question felt less like paranoia and more like a revelation I couldn't outrun. The symbols multiplied, not just on walls but inside my mind, patterns embedding themselves like viral code. I started seeing connections where there were none, hearing whispers that might have been real or might have been the lullaby of madness. And just when the dread felt unbearable, I realized the greatest secret wasn't what was hidden in basements or erased from footage. It was that none of this was accidental. The silence, the watching, the shared hallucinations. They were all a message, a test, or worse, a trap designed to fracture not just memory, but identity itself, to make us question everything, what we saw, what we heard, who we were. So here, we stand on the edge of a story that refuses to be told straightforwardly, a narrative fractured by unseen forces that shape not only what is real, but who gets to be real. The observer's voice fades but leaves an echo, a pulse that you feel when the lights flicker, or when the silence grows too loud. Because the deeper truth, what the government never released, what they erased from every record, every memory is, that this isn't just a mystery to solve, it's a reality to survive. And as the symbols bleed through the fabric of your own world, as the whispers grow louder in the spaces you thought were safe, remember this: you were never alone. You were part of the story from the beginning. The watching eyes are everywhere, but so is the spark of recognition. That feeling that you were right all along, that the hidden truth is waiting for you, waiting to be found. And somewhere, just beyond the reach of sight and sound, the observer waits too, watching, recording, and maybe, just maybe, hoping someone will listen. The room felt impossibly still, but inside my chest a storm was raging, a tempest of doubt, fear, and a strange, aching clarity. The pieces of the mystery that had haunted me for weeks, months, maybe even years, weren't simply fragments to be assembled into a story anymore. They were a mirror, reflecting something deeper and far more uncomfortable about what it means to be human. It wasn't just about what had happened in that gym, or the girl in the basement, or the symbols carved into forgotten walls. It was about why it happened, why the silence, the watching, the erasure existed in the first place. And as the layers peeled back, I realized the truth I sought might not be a blessing, but a breaking point. I sat alone in the dark, the glow of the screen casting pale light over my face, and felt the weight of everything pressing down, like the world itself was holding its breath. This wasn't just a story of corruption or hidden agendas. It was a confession carved into the fabric of memory and identity, a painful admission that sometimes the darkest truths live not in secrets kept from us, but in the fractures we carry inside ourselves. Every erased file, every whispered warning, every shared nightmare wasn't just about control or fear. It was about vulnerability, the terrifying exposure of what it means to be fragile, lost, and desperately seeking meaning in a world that often refuses to offer any. Lila's voice echoed, in my mind softer now, stripped of panic but heavy with sorrow. "We want to believe the truth will save us," she had said during our last conversation. "But sometimes it's the very thing that tears us apart. We're not just uncovering what they hid from us. We're uncovering what we hide from ourselves." It was a moment of brutal honesty that pierced through the chaos, a painful confession that this mystery was never about external forces alone. It was about the invisible battles raging inside each of us, the fear of being seen, the terror of losing control, the ache of forgotten pain buried beneath layers of denial. And then, the choice came crashing in like a wave I couldn't escape. Could turn away from the truth, retreat into the comforting lies and fragmented memories that had kept me sane for so long, or I could face it head on, the full, terrifying weight of what it revealed about me, about us, about the very nature of consciousness and existence. The thought was overwhelming. To hold the truth might destroy me, unravel everything I thought I was. But to reject it was to remain forever lost in a maze of shadows and silence, never fully alive, never truly free. I found myself standing at a threshold, between despair and awakening, between forgetting and remembering. The observer's fragmented voice whispered again, not from a screen this time, but from somewhere deeper inside my own mind. You are both the question and the answer, the watcher and the watched, the prisoner and the key. The paradox twisted like a knife. What I sought to expose was also what sought to expose me, the layers of self folded into a labyrinth with no clear exit. In that moment of raw vulnerability, I admitted a truth I hadn't dared speak aloud. I was afraid. Afraid of what the truth would mean for my identity, my sanity, my very soul. But beneath the fear, a fragile hope flickered, the possibility that this revelation could save me, that in embracing the uncertainty, the chaos, the haunting mystery, I might finally break free from the chains of silence and erasure that had bound me, and all of us for so long. The room seemed to breathe with me, the shadows shifting as if alive, whispering promises and threats in the same breath. It wasn't an ending, it was a beginning, a terrifying awakening from a dream I hadn't even known I was trapped in. The mystery was no longer about uncovering facts or exposing conspiracies. It was about confronting the invisible forces within, ourselves that shape our memories, our fears, our very reality, and in doing so, perhaps reclaiming the parts of ourselves we thought lost forever. As the screen faded to black, the final words lingered like a sigh, a challenge, a promise. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for stories you were never meant to hear. Until next time, remember, some truths don't want to be found.